Oh, hi there. I'm so glad you joined us. My name is John Dwyer, and I am a member of the New Hope Celebrates History LGBTQ Artists and Authors Series. And where we are right now is in the lobby of Music Mountain Theater. Today, we're going to be talking about the performing arts, and this theater specifically, and how it got started, and about the history of what preceded it. Music Mountain Theater is in Lambertville, where Music Mountain Circus originally was, which was founded by Sinjun Terrell, who also founded the Bucks County Playhouse. One of the reasons it's important to gay life, and why I'm here, as well as I think most of the people who are in the LGBTQ community in New Hope and Lambertville, is because we're here because the arts are welcoming. The arts think out of the box. If it weren't for artists who were able to express themselves and have empathy for others, we wouldn't be here. And that empathy is what fuels our coming here. And we'll be talking about the lives of Jordan Brennan and Palena, who are the founders, and how they got together, how theater brought them together, and how the theater is flourishing here, and what this theater means to the community and what the community means to them. And without further ado, here are Palena and Jordan Brennan.
Don't be worried about it.
I'm Palena, co-artistic director of Music Mountain Theater.
I'm Jordan Brennan, also co-artistic director of Music Mountain Theater, Lewis's husband. So I was born, I was born in Philadelphia, but I was raised in Doylestown, Pennsylvania. Went to college in Manhattan, a school called Marymount Manhattan College. I have a BFA in dance. From there, I had started working at the Playhouse, the Bucks County Playhouse, as a kid in their children's shows, and then did a few main stage shows as a young performer, and then through my teenage years. And then once I had graduated college, I went back and you know, whether every summer or every other summer, I would have a job at the Bucks County Playhouse as part of their summer stock company. In 2008, I want to say, I went and worked on a cruise ship for almost an entire year, which was a very interesting experience. I got to see a huge part of the world for free, but very monotonous performing because it was the same 3 shows for 10-month contract. So
I come from a family that had virtually no theater experience. I was not exposed to theater as a kid, other than going to the ballet when I was in school, elementary school in Boston. And I just knew, for some reason, I knew, even at a very young age, that I was supposed to do something in theater. When I was in like the 6th grade, we had a paper to write about, you know, what you're going to be when you grow up. And I remember sitting in the library of the school and thinking, I'm going to be a playwright. I had never seen a play. I had watched movies. I don't know where that came from, but last year I turned something that I had written into a play and premiered it on stage, which technically qualifies me as a playwright. So you know the answers, you just have to be able to listen to them. For me personally, growing up as a gay man, I did not have anyone in my family to kind of look to for examples or answers or what have you. So I think that's part of the draw to when I first came to this area, because high school was not an easy time for me, even though I went to an arts high school. But when I came here, I remember distinctly stepping off the bus and just having this feeling of, this is where I'm going to land someday. I just felt comfortable. I felt that I could be whoever I wanted to be and whatever that entailed, and that would be accepted here. It's such a diverse community. I was not comfortable when I was in high school in the early 90s to be out.
Yeah, I didn't come out until after high school, but we did have what was called the GSA, the Gay Straight Alliance, at my high school. I was not part of it. I didn't feel comfortable enough to join that. But again, I think that things have changed. I think that people talk about it much more openly. I think that it is, for some people, easier now. I think it is more accepting now. I still don't know as an individual how much easier it actually is to come out of the closet. I'm hoping that with each generation that comes, just like each generation that came before us, we're paving the way. We're continuing to open up new avenues and to have more conversations and to talk within your own generation, but also with the generation before and after about how we're progressing as a queer community.
Initially, we met as co-workers, as performers at the Bucks County Playhouse. We started dating right as you were going into college, I think, right?
2001.
Yeah. And we have been together ever since. It's 20 plus years. I remember your dance director at Marymount telling you to
explore new avenues.
Yes.
Don't bother with Lewis. It will never last. You're young. She didn't say sow your oats, but it was that kind of vibe. I didn't listen to her. Lewis proposed while I was working on that ship contract in 2009, I want to say. He came out for a visit, proposed. I mean, it was, I don't know, I saw you for 2 days. Is that right?
Maybe.
Over those 10 months.
San Diego.
Very quick visit. He proposed. I said yes. I continued my contract for another four or 5 months. We got married in Hawaii in 2011. But it was still not legalized across the whole 50 states. So it was legalized in Hawaii. And then in 2015, when it was legalized, we got married again on paper. We just went to the courthouse, got the paper to fill out. Our friend Jenny was ordained, so she officially signed the documents, and we had them signed during a performance at the open air theater. We were both in it. Jenny was in it with us. We were doing Shrek the musical. So literally backstage at intermission, Lewis was dressed as Pinocchio, I was dressed as Lord Farquaad, Jenny was dressed as Mama Bear, and Jill, who is Lewis's middle sister, took the photo and kind of witnessed the whole thing, dressed as the Sugar Plum Fairy. Yeah. So it's a very interesting story.
And fitting.
And fitting for, our life. After all of the weddings and all of the celebrations, we started talking about the idea of adopting or surrogacy or fostering or any of, those types of parenting ideas to grow our family. A good friend of mine her and her husband were foster parents for years and had told us of all the ups and downs. We chatted with one of our students' parents who works for Bucks County Children and Youth. She again told us all of the ups and downs and the pluses and minuses and everything that's to come along with it. When we were presented with Alana's case, she was living currently with another foster family that was technically a short-term foster home. So we had met her in the courthouse in Doylestown for like a quick, 1 hour visit. She would come and visit with us for an afternoon. We would do that, once a week for a week, and then twice a week, and then 3 times a week. And then that moved to an overnight stay. She then moved in officially with us July 6th of 2021, and has lived with us ever since. Almost a year later, just over a year later, we officially adopted her this past August. So a very wild roller coaster ride, but she's amazing.
Yes, she is.
She's almost 2.5 now. Walking, talking, she'll be running this theater before we know it.
So there's kind of a twofold answer to the question of the history of Music Mountain Theater. First part being our end.
Ginny, who is my mother, had started our company in 2001 as the studio, the kids studio, and that was called Downtown Performing Arts Center, which then transitioned to Curtain Up Productions, which has now transitioned to Music Mountain Theater. She is still our producing director here, still, part-time general manager, part-time children's theater coordinator, helping with the box office, helping with kids' costumes and cleaning the toilets and sweeping the floor and ordering candy and being the front of house face. As everyone knows, she stands by the piano outside in the lobby after every show, and people can greet her, and she really is the face of this company.
And the three of us did meet at the Bucks County Playhouse in the early 90s. We started a production company and used to produce theater, mostly musical theater, in the Washington's Crossing Open Air Theater over in Washington's Crossing on the New Jersey side in the State Park. And we did that for about 8 years. We have been around for quite some time, but we didn't come into this space until October of 2017, which is when the building was completed. And then we've been here since then, and we've grown exponentially once we're able to get indoors. And then there's the other part of the history, which is
the music circus. So back in the 1960s, 70s, a man named Sinjun Terrell started what was a pop-up circus tent back behind the location where the Music Mountain Theater is currently. And it was a big circus tent, and he would have traveling musicians and acts and musicals and plays come in. That was the first of its kind. People who live still in New Hope and Lambertville have a connection still to that location. It was the first time they saw live theater. It was the first time they saw a concert. They used to come and help build the sets or get the chairs ready. So the kind of community aspect of what was the music circus is still something that we find very important to our business here, with having a huge arts community in the New Hope and Lambertville area.
We have probably a pool of 300 plus actors that at any given time we could reach out to and say, would you like to come and do this show? Or we're having auditions for this set of shows. Why don't you come in? There's something you might be good for. It really is, I think, in part due to the fact that there is such a strong prevalence of art in this community. I mean, this is a small town, and I consider New Hope and Lambertville kind of one bubble. But in that small bubble, we have so much art. But I think that being so prevalent in many ways adds to the people who are then interested in being part of the arts. Our connections to what was the old Bucks County Playhouse when it was the non-union theater. We made so many connections there, and there are so many people still in this area, and we still have friends who we met there, but then went on and, moved to New York or moved here, moved there, and were pursuing theater. And then for whatever reason, they're not necessarily pursuing that anymore. But that doesn't just make the love of performance or the love of theater vanish. You just have to find a different way to fulfill that. Even though we are community theater, we are providing as professional an experience as we can. both the Rocky Horror Show and our production of A Christmas Carol, we've been doing since we started in 2010. So those productions have kind of grown along with the company. And our production of A Christmas Carol is much larger in the sense that it's a cast of 50 or 60 people. And it is, I would say, 80% returning.
Yeah.
And not only returning, but people who've been doing it for, some of them, 10 years now. So I do think it would be remiss of us not to just kind of touch on the pandemic and what that represented for us as business owners, because just as everyone had to really kind of pivot their ideas, we decided that we were going to show movies outdoors in the parking lot. And we projected from this building onto a storage building across the lot, and we showed movies. We were a drive-in theater, essentially. Did we make any money doing that? No.
But we stayed, out there in the community. We actually brought in new audience members through that because they had never been to this space before, but they would come and see a movie, and then since they've returned to see something live on stage.
And so we were streaming for a few months, and then we started with very, very small plays. And once they were allowing limited capacity audiences back into places, we literally blocked the shows over Zoom so that the in-person time was cut in half. So we would come in literally for the tech week. I mean, obviously our sets,
Everything
was very minimal and scaled down, but we felt that it was important to try and get back open. Even if we could only have 25 people in the audience. I think the first capacity was 25 or 30. Again, were we making any money? Absolutely not. Were we probably losing money? Positively. But you still want to give the people that were ready to try and feel a little bit of normalcy again. You want to give that opportunity. And not just for them, but for us too. We work constantly, as anyone does who owns their own business. But we do it because we love theater, specifically the musical theater. And not only we missed it, but the people who are part of our family, part of our performance community, they missed it too. And there are countless stories of people who say, I remember coming in for that first rehearsal of The Importance of Being Earnest, or that first rehearsal of Dracula, and thinking, oh my God, maybe there's a way out of this. So it was more than just doing theater. It was trying to provide
to the world and
that feeling of we'll be okay, and we're gonna just keep moving along. We have discussed someday opening a school, a performing arts school. Obviously, it would not be in this building per se, but it would be attached to the theater. We would love that. Our children's program is really important to us. It's where he started as a performer. And the kids are what's going to give you longevity as a business, because if you foster that love of theater at a young age, then that will continue, whether they continue as a performer or maybe they are interested in directing or stage management. So it's really important for us to expose our kids to all of the options that theater has to offer, not just the performance. We would also love to be able to grow to a place where we could give our actors some sort of compensation for what they do, because they are donating their time. They are wonderfully talented. They are just as talented, if not more talented in some cases, than people you will see who are pursuing this for a living. I don't think, and I'm speaking for myself, I don't think that we ever want this building to turn into on paper, a regional theater or a union house, because we want it always to have that community feeling. So we will always stay a community theater. We are theater by the community, for the community, and we have created a community of theater and people who love it, whether they're in the audience or on stage. And I don't think we ever want to lose that feeling.
I'm speaking for Lewis and myself. We're very lucky overall. We have a very happy life. We have a career as small business owners in a field that we love. We have a family that supports us in our endeavors. We have now created a family with Alana that we are very fortunate to have. Not everyone can have that in their life. We live in an amazing community. We live in a beautiful place. It is one of the most beautiful places I've ever been. And both Lewis and I have traveled the world on ships and on vacations, etc. And Bucks County, New Hope, Lambertville, this area is beautiful. We're lucky.
Work here in Lambertville. We live in New Hope. So every day we drive across the New Hope Lambertville Bridge. And without question, at least once a week, as we're driving across the bridge, I will say, oh, we are so lucky to live here. And it's the truth.